Hello everyone, it's John and Pip. Hello, how are you? Are you good today? Oh, he's not. He's normally not a very happy chap because he's having to be brushed, starting to have to be washed. Washed? Yes, he does get washed, but his hair has started to get to the. I've got to be brushed almost daily again now, and somebody doesn't like his hair being doesn't like his hair being brushed. Do you, mate? No, Dad, he says, I do not. He said, I will run for the hills. And it's hilarious because once he has his hair brushed, it's like dogs when they have their are covered in water. They shake. He shakes himself, and it's hilarious. He shakes himself. Hello. He's sulking now. He's sulking like the beautiful puppy he is. Because the thing is that this little, his little, oh, I'm sorry. Oh dear. See, his little snout gets so full of, yes, I didn't mean to do that. Oh dear, I've been caught on camera hurting my little man, which is not what always happens. It doesn't happen at all. It's only occasional. Hey. Yeah, as you can see, his little snout, as you can see, this little hairy gob, these little hairy bits here, and he shoves his, yes, when you shove your gob, when he shoves his gob in for food, it gets, it gets filthy. And it's funny too because after he's usually, sometimes I let him finish off the lasagna, and his big hairy, you see these little hairy ears? Because when he drops his head in, his hairy ears go in. Don't they? Your big hairy ears? Oh, Dad, he says I don't have hairy ears. Yes, his hairy ears pop into the food, and if I don't grab them fast enough, or I'm not paying attention, by the next day, he's it's hell to pay to try and get his hair. Yes, and of course his little snout. Yes, your little snout. Yes, your beautiful snout. Oh, he says, Dad, I'm handsome. I could talk for hours. Look, I've already talked for over 3 minutes about this little man. As you might tell, this person here means a lot to me. As you can see, which is why he's the producer, and I'm just the person who puts it all together. So he tells me what I can and can't do. Don't you? Hey? Yes? Which means he tends to yawn a lot, which means that I'm obviously not saying anything of great import. So, what is today's video about? Oh dear. I don't know, every now and again I get to the point that I've got to talk about, I guess, oh okay, I'll let you go down. You want to hop down? Yes, he says, Dad, I just want to sit down there and be comfy. I think I need to, oh dear, I didn't do my personal grooming, so I'm going to look a little bit hairy. Sorry, time for a bit of personal grooming. Growing old. Why do I constantly come back to this topic all the time? I guess it's the fact that when you're young and you have lots of friends, you don't give a lot of thought in many cases to growing old and what's life going to be like when you reach old, well, an older age or a venerable age. Life is carefree. You've got lots of friends. You socialise. Every day's a lot of fun. For most people. Not everybody. But for the majority of people, that's the case. But I find that as you start to get older, and certainly in my case, my circle of friends have grown smaller. And in many cases, this is because they've married or they've acquired partners. They've they've now got families, they've got children, they've got other responsibilities, and sadly, in many cases, their priorities change. You're no longer as important a person as you may once have been, as is the hobby that you once enjoyed with them. Oh, there we go, he's off. Calm down. And it's okay. Pippi's playing with the puka. Puka's changed into a magpie out in the front yard. So yeah, it's so your importance in other people's lives diminishes, which is sad. I've never allowed that to happen. But again, that's just me. People also move away. So, you lose contact with people. They move to other areas. They move interstate. They move overseas. You lose them. You lose your friends through that. Sadly, some people pass away. And I'm sadly getting to that stage of life where a number of them now are falling into that category. And lastly is the category that I guess is the least desirable, is feuds, where you end up having arguments or disagreements with people that become irreconcilable, and you lose friends because of that. And these are just, I suppose, some, of the many reasons that your circle of friends start to diminish. So life becomes a lot more insular. Then opportunities become fewer if you maintain your interests as your age group generally change their interests. Now, by that I mean that, for instance, my interests have maintained stability all the way through my life. However, you may find that as people get older, they view some of the interests that they have in their youth as perhaps childish or not mature as they get older, and consequently have no interest in wanting to pursue these as they get older. So consequently, you'll find that people that you've previously found enjoyed your company, enjoyed playing games with you or hobbying with you. And this isn't just for the hobby, people who say may have had a very keen interest, say, in motocross or BMX biking or abseiling, or, say, I don't know, some sort of perhaps extreme sports, or, these are only examples. There's probably plenty more, but, the older you get, your interest may continue, but others may go, well, I can't really afford that. Can't afford that interest anymore. I'm changing it, or my partner isn't interested in it, and it's too noisy, or I've broken far too many bones, and I've changed my interest into origami folding, or something like that. So you lose your friends through their changing interests, and so consequently, you know, I look at when I was at school, you know, most of the boys, because I went to an all-boys school, is that, you know, very few showed any interest at all in what you know, what I found interesting. You know, I think there might have been, who knows, maybe three, I think, out of 3 classes of maybe 30, what's that, 90, I think, who had any interest at all. I don't know. Wasn't very many. Might have been 2. Might have been me and my mate, and that was it. But yeah, it's interesting that, you know, changing interests, and, you know, if you maintain yours, is yeah. So that's, yeah, an adding. I also tend to find that the younger people are disinclined to accept older people, and a lot of this now is coming down to really partisan reasons, and this is really coming down to really political and activism and all sorts of nonsensical reasons that should have no bearing at all on sitting down and playing games with people. But, you know, this is it. Younger people view older people as being of, you know, we believe that you're in this camp, and vice versa. Older people view younger people as being whatever. And of course we end up with, you know, this sort of divide where neither are interested in talking to the other, unless you're like me, who just goes, I really don't give a toss. All I'm interested in is playing games, as long as you don't talk about your partisan, you know, ideologies and that at the table. So it's a yeah, it's sad trying to get acceptance the older you get, because, as I said, you know, you walk into clubs, or you walk into gaming venues, and you're viewed as though you're Medusa. You know, people almost freeze and turn to stone. You know, and then they look away as though, you know, go away, don't come and disturb us. The other thing too is that there's the problem that mobility becomes an issue. That older you get, in some cases you lose access to motor vehicles or your transport options, and particularly when you've got to rely on public transport to get around. Now, here in Australia, our public transport system is not the best, and to say that relying on it is wonderful is a misnomer. So consequently, if you have to try and get about anywhere to get from point A to point B, can be in some cases a logistical nightmare. So it's not as easy as, you know, being able to jump in the car and, you know, turn up at somebody's place at whatever time you like. So for a lot of people, you know, that loss of mobility becomes an issue, because then you become a burden to others if you're having to rely on others to pick you up and take you places, because some people just, you know, suddenly go, oh geez, well, you know, we won't invite John because that means somebody's got to pick him up. Who's going to pick up John today? Geez, I really don't want to today. That's, you know, it's out of my way. You know, I don't think I really want to. And, you know, they're some of the things that could happen, not necessarily, but they're the issues that come up with, you know, with people that have problems with a loss of transport. Is, you know, if you've got to rely on transport, is that having to rely on the goodwill of others, and that, you know, at some point in time you either become a burden, perhaps you become a burden at some stage. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But, you know, again, these are just some of the issues that come up with getting old. And the last thing, I guess, is communication. And there's just the failure of keeping in contact. And sometimes you have too little, sometimes you have too much. You know, do you, you know, constantly badger people saying, look, you know, are we having a game? Are we having a game? You know? And eventually people go, look, I'm sick and tired of, you know, oh, geez, it's him again. I wish he'd go away. Or you sort of go, well, you know, this person's always working, or they've got an issue, so consequently I'll wait for them to contact me because they're the person that will, you know, like for instance with myself, I'm available 24/7. I can play anytime, anywhere. So consequently, people need to let me know when they're available to play, because, you know, it's pointless for me to be trying to contact people and saying, oh, look, you're able to play this weekend, when they're probably going to say, oh, look, no, or oh, I don't know yet, when it's easier for them to say, look, I'll let you know, which is generally the response I get. And of course what happens then is people forget. You know, I don't know, for whatever reasons. And I guess that's the hardest thing for me to come to grips with at the end, is that for me is what is your worth to your community? How important are you? You know, at the moment for myself, I have, you know, it's been 8 weeks of no regular gaming with what used to be a regular gaming group, and I've not heard anything from them. So, you know, COVID lockdowns have gone here in Brisbane. We've had no significant problems. So, you know, it just concerns me that I've fallen off the radar. But, you know, look, this is just me. This is just me, bitter old man, getting old. And, you know, it's, I guess, it's sad. You know, I'm quite sure that my situation is not unique. Not unique at all. I'm quite sure that there are lots of gamers of my age. Good Lord, there's probably even gamers younger than me that suffer the same problems. You know, added to this is my mental health issues that make it extremely hard for me to, you know, more or less even venture outside my door. You know, my last brush with death by misadventure, you know, so many people promised so many things that they would do for me, and nothing's eventuated, or sorry, nothing has been long term, and it's sad, but that's just human nature. Anyway, look, I've rambled on. This is it, just growing old, and it's just me having another good whinge at the general gaming community in whole. Treat older gamers with a little more courtesy. You know, think of what you will feel like in 30, 40 years time, and how much you'd like to be part of a gaming group if you're in my situation. So anyway, Pippin's off being taunted by the puka. Puka's walking not upside down, walking up and down outside the door here, poking fun at Pippin. He's getting a little bit grumpy at the moment. Are you getting grumpy, mate? Yes, he is. Yes. It's wonderful having a family puka. Yes. Anyway, thank you much for putting up with the madman. Until next time, signing off, the Honourable John.